Hello everyone and welcome to my Bachelor Nation 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Golden Bachelorette real reason Joan Vassos kept top 3 men. When it comes to choosing a winner, the Golden Bachelorette herself, Joan Vassos, has a lot to consider. There are a few factors that weigh into the important decision, one being finances. Based on her choices throughout the season, she's been keeping that in mind. In the eyes of several viewers, though, it might be a little too important to her. Read on to find out what happened. Is Joan Vassos a gold digger? There are 3 men standing in Golden Bachelorette, each vying for Joan's love. While they all come from different states and have unique backgrounds, they do share an aspect in common. Based on their online information, it looks as though the bachelors are all fairly well off. And because of that, some are claiming that is all Joan is searching for. On X, viewers began calling out the reality TV star, accusing her of only looking for a guy with a lot of money and not caring about anything else. Here are a few of the posts, 2 minutes in, and she mentions the men's rich lives. That about says it all. She didn't pick Jordan 'cause he didn't have enough money. Look at the 3 left. Coincidence? No way in hell. Vassos hasn't publicly addressed the backlash just yet. Their lavish lifestyles. For starters, Chalk has become quite wealthy as he is a successful real estate mogul. Not only does he own several homes, which reportedly total over $1 million in value, but he owns multiple boats as well. As a cherry on top, Chappell is also the president of his own insurance agency. Speaking of owning his own business, Pascal Ibe is a proud entrepreneur who owns a lavish hair salon in Chicago. As seen in the hometown episode, if Joan does choose him, she can expect to be pampered with complimentary services for life. Thai is in the wealthy tier too. Gansert is an emergency room doctor who is still operating in Reno, Nevada. He hasn't publicly shared his salary, but the average ER doctor gets 6 figures annually. Needless to say, if Joan wanted to quit working, any one of her remaining bachelors would be more than capable of supporting her. Joan's a working girl. It is important to note that on the outside looking in, Joan is doing well for herself. She's a school administrator for a private school in Maryland. The tuition for the school begins at over $45,000 for 3rd graders and goes up to nearly $55,000 a year for high school students. It's safe to assume that the staff for this academy get paid a pretty penny. As a side hustle, Vassos is also an interior designer and has been for almost 4 years. It's unclear how much she makes from this side hustle. As the Golden Bachelorette nears its peak, Joan Vassos has sparked a flurry of questions and whispers about her final 3 men. Some viewers think they have the answers, chalking it up to her heart finally narrowing down the possibilities. But insiders are now spilling that Joan may have a deeper, more intricate reason behind why she's holding on to her top contenders with such a firm grip. At 64, Joan is no ordinary bachelorette. Her life experience shines as a guiding light, casting shadows where lesser instincts might prevail. She isn't chasing some fairy tale fantasy of love. Rather, she's after something genuine, sturdy enough to last. Rumors swirled that Joan had developed a unique connection with her top 3, each representing a facet of the stability she's after. One a spark of passion, one a steady anchor, and one a reminder of her adventurous self. Joan knew well enough that it wasn't just one she needed, it was the complete spectrum. But what few knew, and what her closest friends were now leaking to sources, is that Joan was on a personal quest long before stepping foot in front of the cameras. She was coming to terms with her past, a chapter full of love and loss that still haunted her. For years, Joan had been wrestling with the legacy of a husband she'd adored, a relationship cut short too soon. His absence left a void, and try as she might to move forward, she couldn't quite shake his memory. When she accepted the mantle of Golden Bachelorette, she'd sworn to herself that it was more than a televised date night. It was her way to honor him by moving on, and by finding love that might finally outshine his memory. This haunted her. In every conversation with her final three, Joan found herself measuring them not only by her needs in the present, but against the echoes of her past. She didn't voice it, of course, but the looks she'd give her top three men, Chalk Chapel, Mark Anderson, and Guy Gansard, told the story. She saw potential in each of them, a different shade of happiness. Chalk Chapel, with his steady demeanor and calm approach, seemed like the rock she needed. He was practical, reliable, and exuded an unwavering confidence in his own decisions. For Joan, this calmness mirrored the safety she'd once cherished with her late husband, a foundation to lean on when life threw its curveballs. Chalk was mature, seasoned by life's lessons, and more than willing to provide a steady hand when she needed it most. There was a quiet intensity between them, something unsaid, but ever present, like a blanket of reassurance wrapped around her. Chalk was her sense of familiarity, a stable foundation she knew she could rely on, a mirror of the life she thought was long gone. Then there was Mark Anderson. Oh, Mark, with his boyish charm and vibrant personality, swept Joan off her feet every time he entered the room. He brought out a side of her she thought was left behind with her youth, her spirit for adventure, her joy in the little things, and her once spontaneous heart that had long been buried. Mark was a reminder that, even now, life could still be an exciting journey. He was unpredictable, but not in a reckless way. Mark challenged Joan to dream big again, to take risks, and most of all, to let herself be swept away. He was what Joan called a taste of what could be, a version of herself that she'd almost forgotten. But would his charisma be enough in the long term, or would he remain a fleeting spark? And then there was Guy Gansard. Guy's presence was magnetic, but it was the depth of his kindness that captivated Joan. He was the embodiment of empathy and understanding, a man who seemed to anticipate her thoughts before she even voiced them. With him, Joan felt both known and seen. It was as if he could sense every ounce of weight on her heart, and he never hesitated to ease it. Guy was the confidant, the partner in conversations that could stretch for hours without the clock interrupting. He brought with him an energy Joan found soothing and essential. The rumor about Guy's restraining order had certainly clouded things, but Joan's instincts told her that there was more to the story, and she trusted him enough to believe that his kindness was genuine. With Guy, Joan could picture the long talks and shared silences, the life moments that didn't need to be dramatic to be meaningful. As Joan stared at these three men, she knew that each filled a part of the puzzle she'd been trying to complete. It wasn't a matter of which of them would be the best partner, but rather, which version of herself she wanted to embrace moving forward. Did she want the steady, familiar security of Chalk, the thrill and zest for life she saw with Mark, or the soulful companionship she knew she'd find in Guy? Yet what her friends couldn't quite grasp was why Joan wasn't rushing to make her final decision. She had carefully, perhaps painstakingly, come to this top three. There were suitors who might have been easier choices, who might have aligned more with a narrative of a fairy tale ending. But Joan was writing her own ending, one with roots, not ribbons. So instead of following a conventional path, Joan held her top three close, savoring each moment with them. She wanted to be absolutely sure she wasn't settling into another chapter without fully closing the last one. She promised herself she wouldn't choose someone based on filling a void, but on creating a new future. As the days ticked down and hometown visits approached, Joan's choice grew more daunting. In her own words, she called it the heart's final call, a journey that was now more about herself than about any of the men in front of her. This was Joan's chance to put to rest the part of her that had clung to the past while also embracing the possibilities in her future. So, as viewers speculate on the final moments of this season, with everyone putting their bets on who will walk away with Joan's heart, she remains unhurried. The roses on that table don't represent her choice of a partner, but the pieces of her own heart that she's decided to reclaim one by one. This top three represents Joan's real reasons for coming on this journey, not just to find a man, but to rediscover the woman she wanted to be. Whether it's Chalk's stability, Mark's spark, or Guy's empathetic soul, each man holds a mirror to the life Joan has always wanted to live. In the end, her choice will be less about picking a person and more about embracing a version of herself that had been patiently waiting.